Yo, what is up guys, we're RapTRz here today talking about some ideas that can be pumped into the newer version of Paragon known as Monolith. As of recent, there have been a lot of ideas bouncing back and forth between the community of how we can make this game better. And I'm very happy to see the community come together, especially in a time of need where Paragon is struggling. It's always been struggling, but right now it's probably in its most critical state. But always try to stay positive, guys. I know we've been in this situation for a long time. I personally believe there is a lot of potential in this game with the slight iterations that the community can bring to the table for Epic. So right now I'm reaching out to Epic to hear me out on this new idea that I've been thinking about for a while that was introduced in Legacy that can be reiterated into a version to fit Monolith. Now, a lot of people are iffy when I bring up about Legacy. There was a lot of nostalgia about Legacy, but one of the biggest nostalgic mechanics that a lot of people really liked that made Paragon different, that brought counterplay, that brought hero-to-hero combat, that brought a lot more action to the game, a lot more team fight, that really umped the antics of risk/reward and making decisions and making strategies based around this mechanic. I'm talking about Orb Prime Dunking. If you are not familiar with Orb Prime Dunking, this is basically how it went back in Legacy on the old map. In the old map, when you killed Orb Prime, you would get what was called the Prime Helix. With that Prime Helix, you would have to go and dunk it into a well. That's basically how it went. Now, I know why this was taken out of the game. It did increase the match time. That is true, but now we have a smaller map. And also, another thing I really didn't like about Orb Prime Dunking, I know why I didn't like it at first. At first, I didn't like it because it took a while to get your paycheck. What I'm saying, it took a while to get that power up. You would have to go to the Prime, you would have to kill it, you would have to pick it up, and then you would have to go all the way across the map to finally get your power up, and it would take like 2 minutes to do that, and that it would just take too long. Sometimes you would just be iffy if it was worth it to go for that. And also another thing is a lot of newer players would get this Prime Helix and they didn't know exactly what it was. They just know that Orb Prime's an objective, they kill it, and then nothing happens. So like they would just run around with the Prime Helix and it would just be like a big waste of time. It was flawed to a certain point, but there is a different iteration that I feel can be implemented to Monolith and still bring that counterplay aspect and that team fight aspect and that grouping up and that strategy aspect to the game and make it a lot more in-depth for newer players and for competitive players as well. In Monolith, Epic wants things to happen pretty fast. In Legacy, a lot of the stuff was drawn out. In Fangtooth, I think we can implement that mechanic differently. So for example, I have this written down on my phone. I've been thinking about it for a long time now. When you kill the Fangtooth, first team to kill Fangtooth to last hit it is gonna get a buff immediately. After they kill a Fangtooth, new players will understand this as well. When they kill Fangtooth, you get something. Right out the gate, you get something. So I'm implementing the same things we have right now. The first time you kill Fangtooth, when you last hit it, you will get the 5,000 gold. You will get 1,000 gold for each player on the team. However, here's the twist, and here is where the dunking, the counterplay mechanics, and the decision making of risk reward comes into play. When you last hit the Fangtooth, you will get the mark of Fangtooth. You will have a timer. You will have 35 seconds. I don't know. We would have to tweak the data, see what would be the perfect balance between the time. So let's say 35 seconds. You would have a 35-second timer. In that mark of Fangtooth, in that mark, there's a second tier power up, and that is, let's say, the 4 power. Let's say we're keeping the power. Let's keep the power in Fangtooth, but let's work for it. Let's work for it. One thing I do not like about Fangtooth right now is you get too much for too little, I think. You get the gold and you get power just for killing the Fangtooth. I think that's a little bit too much. It's a little bit too snowbally. I feel like you have to work for that extra power, that permanent power that impacts the late game. You have to work for that. You have to dunk that Fangtooth. You have to make the decision as that team who last hit the Fangtooth. Do you make the decision to make a risk and dunk the ball to get that permanent power, or do you take the safer route, which is just get the 5,000 gold? You make that decision. You make a strategy. Do you do that or not? So if you dunk the ball, you get that 4 permanent power. New players will get the 5,000 gold. New players will decide, do I dunk the ball? A lot of new players probably won't be good at dunking the ball. A lot of new players might struggle to dunk it, and you know, might never do it. That's something you need to master as a team. You need to make a strategy around dunking that Fangtooth. So I feel like having that immediate impact is going to felicitate the gameplay still, while still having a deeper mechanic by having that extra mile of dunking the ball for Fang for that permanent power. So on the second time you kill Fangtooth, you get 10% out of combat movement speed. Again, same thing. When you get that mark of Fangtooth, you have 35 seconds. And in that mark of Fangtooth, the power up of 4 power is in that ball, and you have to go dunk it again. Now, where would you dunk this mark of Fangtooth? After looking at the map, since it's asymmetrical, I believe the best place would have to be by the Orb Prime pit, in the pit. Now, since the map is asymmetrical, the other team, strong side of the jungle, is going to be a lot closer to the Prime pit, so they have a more defensive role on being on the Dawn side, let's say. But if you're on the Dust side, you have a more offensive role. Your strong side of jungle is a little bit away from the Prime pit, but again, you're closer to the Fangtooth. So I feel like the asymmetrical map would felicitate this Dusk and Dawn side, where the Dawn side is more defensive approach and where the Dust side is a more offensive approach to the game. And obviously it can be worked out in the future, but this is just an idea. This is just to start the engine up to make an idea work a little bit more in the future, hopefully. Again, the third kill would be 15 non-hero damage. And then in that second tier reward to dunk the ball, you would get another 4 power. And on the 4th kill, this is something I would really like to see. On the 4th kill of Fangtooth, when you kill Fangtooth, I don't know, it could be a temporary health regen, it could be cooldown reduction, a temporary cooldown reduction, or a temporary mana regen, something. But when you dunk the ball, you can respawn your inhibitor on the 4th Fangtooth. I think that would be very interesting. Since it would be the late game, the 4th time you kill the Fangtooth, there will probably be some inhibs down, and you could respawn your inhibitors by dunking it in the Orb Prime pit. I think that would be really cool. But there will be a twist. To it. When you respawn your inhibitor, it will respawn without a turret. There won't be a beam shooting at minions. It will just be a blank statue. Like in League of Legends, there's 2 parts to a tower. There's a turret and then the actual core of the tower. In League of Legends, there's a turret and then behind it, the actual tower that will spawn super minions if you kill it. So if you kill a turret, it won't spawn the super minions. But if you actually kill like the actual core of the tower, it will actually spawn the super minions. So if you respawn your inhibitor with the Fangtooth, it will stop spawning super minions, but it won't have an actual turret shooting minions if somebody tries to tower down the tower. So it'll just stop the super minions from spawning. There won't be a laser to it. So that will be the 4th kill of Fangtooth. I honestly think this could work in the newer version of Monolith. I feel like it would promote more hero-to-hero combat. It would promote more team fights. It will promote more counterplay. It will promote more mastery of dunking the Fangtooth, whereas most newer players might just get the tier 1 reward and be happy with that, whereas a more competitive team would take the risk and make strategies to get the 2nd tier reward of Fangtooth by dunking the Fangtooth to get that permanent power that will benefit them in the late game. But also, before I forget, some guidelines that would be implemented to the mark of Fangtooth that I feel would have to be implemented would have to be, when you get Fangtooth, you're spotted on the map. Just like in Legacy, when you got the Fangtooth, you were shown on the map and there will be a little icon around you saying, hey, this guy has a Fangtooth, and it'll show where he's going around the map. Also, I feel like another cool thing, whoever has the Fangtooth, whoever is holding the mark of Fangtooth should have a 10% movement speed penalty, just because Monolith is a little bit too short, and I feel like right now with the current movement speed, it will be a little bit too fast to dunk the ball, and it will be a little bit too fast to react to that Fangtooth dunk. So I feel like whoever has the Fangtooth would have to have a 10% movement speed penalty. So it's kind of like a burden, but it's also a gift as well. So guys, if you guys really like this idea, please like it up. Tell me what you guys think. But like the video, show your support of this idea, and I will try to show this to Epic and see what they think. Maybe it could happen. Who knows? At this point, Epic is just taking ideas, and they've told us this. That's why you see a lot of people getting feedback, because some of these ideas may come true. They may be implemented into the system. We never know. So anyways, guys, what do you guys think about that implementation of a legacy mechanic that can be reiterated to fit Monolith? But anyways, we're RapTRz, and I'll see you guys next time.